Hello, and welcome to the Days of Yore. Today, we'll be speaking about the British Princess, a ship from the Joseph Russell Shipyard that was completed in 1841 and was dismantled in 1856. So I got most of my sources today through the British Newspaper Archive, accounts of the sale of the ship, its first voyage, its subsequent sale, and its final voyage. Again, I'm not an expert. If you have any information in furtherance to this topic, anything I may have missed, any facts that I may have got back to front, do please drop us a line, either here in the comments or maybe on Facebook as well if you're so inclined, and I'd be more than happy to add that in subsequent episodes just to let people know and to advance our general knowledge. And I'm always grateful, like I say, for comments or any further insights. So let's begin. So in 1841, the Joseph Russell Shipyard was really just in its first years. It had had a number of successes, most notably with the Wallis in 1839, the largest ship that had ever been built on the Miramichi to that period. Also with the Harper, built in 1840, which was a very impressive ship in its own right. The British Princess was built in 1841. It was 462 tons. It was a barque, which means that it had two square-rigged masts, so two masts with square sails, and a schooner-rigged third mast, so a mast in the back that had more triangular sails. And it measured 111 feet each long, 25 feet wide, and 19 feet deep, I guess, high, maybe we'll say. So this is it. An impressive ship in its own right. The ship got its name from the fact that the year before, Queen Victoria had given birth to her first child, the Princess Victoria, the British Princess, the Princess Royal. So she was Queen Victoria's first child with her husband, Prince Albert. Many people felt and said throughout her time that she would have made perhaps a better monarch than her brother, the eventual King Edward VII. Again, of course, at that time, under the laws of the Kingdom of the United Kingdom, of course, male children took precedence over their female counterparts. Of course, today that's all been changed. However, even had that been the case, even had modern laws been in place, Princess Victoria would not have succeeded her mother very long. Unfortunately, she died about 7 months after her mother passed in 1901. Victoria would, however, have a lasting legacy to history. She married the Crown Prince of Prussia. She became the Empress of Germany for a very brief period, and was the mother of Kaiser Wilhelm II. So, moving now from the namesake back to the ship itself. The ship was built of specially selected hackmatack, or Eastern larch. So again, obviously it was a ship that was obviously going to bear a regal name, but it was also a ship that was carefully considered and built really of the finest materials. Its first voyage took place in 1841 after it was launched. It went from Miramichi to Cork. Unfortunately, on the way over, despite its superior craftsmanship, it did spring a leak. And this meant that most of the crew for most of the trip was spending its time working the pumps. The captain had the men down below making sure that the water did not fill the hold. At one period, there was 9 feet of water in the hold of the ship. The captain was only able to offer each sailor 2 hours of sleep per day. And it was on a rotation. So men would head down into the pumps, work the pumps for a period of time, go out again. They had only 2 hours of sleep every day. So you can imagine, again, how exhausting that would be to perform other duties, of course, on top of going down to pump water out of the hold. And then, like I say, only have 2 hours of sleep in the run of a day. Worse was to follow. A gale on the 24th of September, 1841, tore the masts away from the ship, and jury-rigged masts had to be set up, fastened to the remains, the stumps, as it were, of the former masts. Luckily, the captain and the crew were able to bring the ship within sight of Cork Harbour, and having arrived there, 2 government-employed ships, the Hornet and the Chance, spotted the British Princess and towed it in to Cork Harbour. So again, certainly a very challenging journey for the British Princess on its first voyage heading to Cork to Ireland. In 1853, so again after a long service, this in the employ of Gilmore, Pollock and Company, it was put up for sale in 1853, as I mentioned. The company felt that the ship was now really too small for its needs, but it clearly invested a fair bit of money into improving it, adding in additional cargo space, and of course putting new copper fastenings on the ship itself. In 1856, the British Princess undertook what was to be its final voyage. This time, traveling from Miramichi to Belfast with a load of timber. Poor weather caused visibility problems on that voyage. And a neap tide was also the cause of a certain accident. So, as I understand it, and again, please do let me know if I've been mistaken here. As I understand it, the neap tide is the tide that takes place when the moon is in its first or its third quarter. It is during this time that the solar pull on the tides negates the lunar pull on the tides. It's because, of course, everything's all out of whack. The sun and the moon are at right angles to one another as viewed from the Earth. So the tide is at its least powerful. So with a lack of tide action and poor weather, the British Princess unfortunately steered itself into danger, or was steered into danger, perhaps more appropriately, and was struck by a reef or perhaps a sunken rock and was damaged. The poor weather prevented aid coming from the Irish coast, but fortunately, the HMS Meander was at sea at the time and was able to eventually tow the British Princess into harbour at Valencia. Daniel Mahoney, or as we might say here in the Miramichi, Mahoney, was of County Kerry. He was the local agent for Lloyd's of London, and he saw to the interests of the crew when they were brought ashore. Ryan Brothers of Limerick basically looked after the salvage of the ship itself and sold whatever they could. The British Princess, after 15 years at sea, had ended its career. And now, basically, it was a matter for these folks, between Lloyd's of London and the Ryan Brothers, to get what they could of what remained. So, a sad but probably not uncommon end for ships of that time. The British Princess managed to avoid being wrecked totally, but unfortunately sustained sufficient injury to prevent its ever going to sea again. So I think we'll leave it there. Once again, if you're enjoying these videos, do please subscribe to the channel, like the videos of course as well. As I say, If you're interested, as you're able, have a look at the patron options in the description below. There's exclusive content that's coming up every week and is available now to all subscribers on a time delay basis. So more of me, more of Ken, more of any number of people. You will see Ken again next week. You will see me in 2 weeks' time. Thank you once again. I've really enjoyed the time that we spent together. For the Days of Yore, I'm Dr. Sean McCarthy. Thanks so much.